closely in there, there's a couple of latitude, longitude values. Actually, there's a lot. It's the high resolution coordinates for everybody in the DC metro area that's playing this game. So I found that if I took one of those latitude, longitudes and dumped it into Google Maps, well, so you see down there in the bottom right, there's this individual, and you can actually tell exactly what parking spot he's sitting in this parking lot. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And it's amazing that I picked this guy out of random to show during my presentation. So if you zoom the map back just a little bit, you see, okay, it's a parking lot. It's outside of some sort of facility. Maybe he's getting in that last waffle sale before he goes back into work to work for the man. And you pull back a little. Does anybody recognize this place? Yep. I knew. So you pull back a little bit more. What is this? Is it a college campus? I don't know what this is. Maybe some other people are recognizing where this is. Oh, my God. So does anybody else see the irony of me using a cell phone and a satellite map to track somebody that works for somewhere? Hey-oh. So I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. I'm not going to talk to my phone anymore. So I said, okay, well, let me see who else is playing around. And I apologize, it's kind of hard to see because I redacted the player's name. But if you look at that parking lot, does anybody recognize this building? It's in Langley. You can see that there's somebody sitting out in the parking lot. It's kind of funny, you always see people playing this game in the parking lot. It's kind of like they can't bring their smartphones that are jailbroken, well, this isn't jailbroken, with a camera and a GPS into where they work. So here's somebody sitting out at the CIA plane, probably getting in one last waffle deal before they go in. So at that point, I started getting kind of nervous because I sampled that in the morning-ish. So that's when they were at work. If I were to sample that in the afternoon-ish, I could see where they live. And that's where I said, I don't want to be in a dog kennel in Cuba, so let's pick on somebody else. So let's pick on Shake. Shake is, he actually lives not far from me. I've never met the guy, but every time I'm like at the store and I see somebody with their iPhone, I'm like, are you Shake? Are you him? And then I have to leave. And Shake is basically the #2 player in the world. I think he must be a delivery guy or something. Let's find out about Shake. I feel bad for the guy, but I redacted all of his information other than his player handle. So you can see I do get gmap objects. So again, once again, we're asking the server, hey, tell me all the people that's on my local tile, and it spits back all the XML. Take that XML, plug it into Google Maps. If you identify somebody's latitude and longitude when they're at a street address, Google correlates that to their address. So over there on the left-hand side is the guy's street with redacted info. I took that data and I plugged it into the Loudoun County Real Estate Assessment Database. If any of you have ex-girlfriends that you just can't get over, you use your email, you probably have Googled and kind of stalked people down before. Or maybe that's just me. So this is the county real assessment. So now I have the guy's name, address, tax history, etc. If you've ever been to a Johnny Long talk, you know that enough Googling and you can all of a sudden scare yourself and be, like, oh, I'm maybe a little bit psycho. But so I found the guy's Facebook. And then if you take this one step further, his LinkedIn and his Twitter, you know where you would know where he works because you just wait until, about 9 a.m. the next morning and see where he's playing his game at. I actually found somebody that was playing at a tech firm in Fairfax, and then it couldn't give me the address, so I just used Google Street View and looked up at the logo on the side of the building. I was like, oh, so that's where he works. So that was kind of cool. All right, neat. What else? So we've kind of identified a couple of people here, a couple of players, interesting players that work in interesting places. How about a near real-time geolocation tracking system for players? That'd be kind of cool. Well, what do we need to make that? A little bit of curl plus some Perl, some cron tab, spits out a fantastic CSV file. You mash it through a little tool called GPS Babel, which converts GPS output from just a wide array of things and spits it out into a KML file. Drop that into Google Earth, and it makes for just fantastic screenshots for your conference talk. So for the last, I probably let it run for a good 2 months. I set up a little cron job on my server that exactly mimicked the game to pull gmap objects constantly. And this is what the curl script looked like. Real quick, log in to get your session ID, update your location, and I can make my location wherever I want. Funny little story there. Well, I'll talk about that in just a second. And then get gmap objects, which returns you all the XML. You mash it through a dirty little Perl script that cleans it up into something that looks like this. So it's essentially CSV. Latitude, longitude, player name. The one other thing that I probably would have done if I had to do it over again was I would have put the time at the end so I could graph it over time. But there's a way to figure that out, and I'll show you here in just a second. So this is what New York City looks like. So I teleported myself because, again, the game server has to trust where you say you are. If you say, I'm in North Korea, it renders North Korea, and you can see that guy playing in North Korea. Or if you put yourself in downtown Manhattan, this is what it shows you. So these are all the people playing on Manhattan and surrounding areas. This is what it looks like in London, and these are all point-in-time snapshots, right? So I took one snapshot this morning from the hotel room right before I gave my talk. I was really hoping to be able to just bust somebody out and be like, man, I know what room you're in, and that's all I'm going to do. This is what it looks like in London. This is what Southern California looks like, all the people playing. And this is actually kind of masking how many players actually are. If you zoom in, a lot of these check-ins are kind of stacked over one another. So that's cool, point-in-time snapshots. Well, what if you really wanted to follow one person and see what do they do all day? And I'll fire up Google Earth here in just 1 second. We can actually zoom in. This is Shake. And the game, in order to play the game effectively, you have to leave the game on so that as you drive down the road, it's constantly checking in. It drives my wife crazy. You know, I sit there, well, she's driving because we're in a no-phone zone. And, you know, I'm constantly like, bloop, 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 yeah. And so anybody that wants to play this game and do it right, you have to leave the game on because every 30 seconds it checks in. And my cron job would check in every 60 seconds. So I always knew where somebody was. And I grepped out this person's name out of the CSV file and piped it into GPS Babel into KML. And you can see he leaves Loudoun County, goes down 267, up 495, up 270 to that area every single day. I know where he likes to eat for lunch because he checks in there quite a bit, what Starbucks he likes to catch on the way to work, and how long he spends there because I saw like, let's say 12 check-ins, and if it's every 30 seconds, you can kind of figure out how long he dwelled in that one location. If you zoom in, this is a restaurant in Ashburn, for those of you that are familiar with the area. This is the original steak sports dinner theater, whatever place. And if you click on that one check-in, you can see, well, I can tell you that that area of the restaurant is the bar, so that's where he was. And he hung out there for, there's, what, about a dozen check-ins there, so you can kind of figure that he was there for a certain amount of time. So you can extract so much information about somebody based on where they go and what they do, and all of these iPhone apps ask you for your location. And this is just some guy that was massaging the data out of a game. If you were doing this to win, you know, if you were an application, I mean, it's very easy to figure out a lot about people. This is my colleague Nate. This is him going to get beer, going to get a haircut, and going to the bank. And we kind of set it up. I said, leave your iPhone on, leave the game running, I want to track you. So I tracked him as he roamed around. Sorry, I used that's your house. I saw it on there. This is another player, and I followed him out of Loudoun County. I don't know, there's a lot of players in Loudoun County. Down 267, and he goes inside the Beltway every day. I've tracked, I've seen, you know, people at school, at work, driving, whatever, playing. There's a lot of people out there. What's also interesting is I actually transported myself to the green zone in Iraq, and just to see, I wonder if there's anybody playing. And there were American-looking names. I'm assuming they were contractors playing in Iraq. And I did go to North Korea, and there was nobody there. Big shock. Nate went to, where were we at? Asia, and there was some guy, and he had a CIA icon. I was like, oh yeah, it's like the tourists that wear the CIA thing, yeah, undercover. In Kuala Lumpur. So it's an interesting game because you can kind of transport yourself around and see different people and stuff. That's pretty much it. If you have comments, feedback, want to follow me on Twitter, visit our website. Big shout out to Tiago Stock for helping me out with the Perl script. We have about 15 minutes left for you to go drink or ask questions. So thank you very much.